24 hours ago, I found myself in a YouTube binge session whilst feeling incredibly sorry for myself. I'm not 100% well, a little bit of a cold, a little bit of a flu, but I don't have a P1 that can sweat it out this time. So I decided to go for a Sunday morning drive and make a video that I don't think has been made before in the car YouTube space. Within this YouTube binge session, I found myself watching the Shmee 150 video where I was driving the McLaren 720S and had a bit of a light bulb moment as I was talking about how the Audi R8 was my first real business tool with YouTube. Every now and again, I make a video talking about statistics or finances to do with a car that I've owned, usually like a running cost video or cost of a road trip. However, as I was watching this 720S video talking about how my Audi R8 was a business asset, there's one topic that none of us have really talked about, and that is how much money I have lost or made on cars that I've owned. So let's crack on with my first supercar, which now probably would be classed as a sports car. 420 brake horsepower these days, you can probably find in a hot hatch. You can find in a hot hatch. And it was the Audi R8, a beautiful car, and to this day still hasn't depreciated much lower than £40,000. When I bought mine, it was a 2008 57 plate, which is a very late 2007, early 2008 model. And I'm going to talk about purchase price and sale price. The purchase price for that car was £44,000 at the time, and probably to this day, not far off, still worth £44,000. So much so that I sold that car for £43,000 18 months later. If you take that £1,000 worth of depreciation, obviously there are a lot of other running costs involved with that car, but that £1,000 was essentially my cost over 18 months to drive that car. That's also one of the reasons why I love that car so much, because it was so cheap. So then after the Audi R8 came the infamous Lamborghini Gallardo LP560 Bicolore edition. I bought that car for £107,000 and I sold that car for £105,000 6 months later.
You could spend your entire life sideways in this car.
I bought at the right time. I bought around September going into the winter and sold it just as we were going into spring. So I bought quite low and sold quite high. But I didn't lose that much money on that car. I lost a couple of grand, which again, in the 6 months, 2 grand for the opportunity to drive and own and enjoy and ruin everyone's eardrums. So after selling the Lamborghini, we moved on to the Amg GTS, and there is a reason why I've missed out the Audi A1, which I'll get onto in a little bit. The Amg GTS, I got a fantastic deal on. I got one of the best deals I've ever got on a car on the Amg GTS. The previous owner had done 200 miles in that car. He was a massive 911 fan. He loved his Carrera 4S, 4 being the important word in that sentence. Because he fancied a change, he bought the Amg GTS, thinking it was 4-wheel drive. Apparently he span it out within 200 miles and it scared him, so he sold it and lost £25,000. In 200 miles, he lost £25,000, where I swept in and picked up the bargain. So I bought that car, purchase price, at £107,000. I put about 9,000 miles on that car in the space of around 9 months, about 1,000 a month. I loved that car, I enjoyed it, I drove it pretty much everywhere, and I tuned it with Rentex 625 brake horsepower. It is still to this day the fastest car that I've ever owned, the Amg GTS with 625 brake horsepower. Nothing got close to it. And I sold that car for £107,000. So over the 3 cars, the R8, the Gallardo and the Amg GTS, I have only lost £3,000 from buying quite low and then selling quite high and being quite stubborn when it comes to selling. But then we go on to the Audi A1, £21,000, brand new, the perfect daily to sit alongside the Lamborghini. So the purchase price on that car was £21,000, and I had that car for a little over a year before I replaced it with this car, and it sold for £15,500. So you look at the three cars, the Audi R8, the Lamborghini Gallardo, the Amg Gts. If you accumulate the purchase price of all of those cars, it is well over £200,000. Let's say, for example, I can't work it out right now, 1151, 251, 258. Oh my God. The purchase price collectively is £258,000, which is a scary amount of money. But when I sold them all, I got £255,000 back. So it's not actually that bad. Whereas the Audi A1, I lost more money buying and selling that car alone than I did buying and selling an R8, an Amg GTS, and a Lamborghini Gallardo. Let me tell you the secret that I have that has enabled me to be relatively successful when it comes to buying and selling cars, and it only really works on used cars. And I'm going to use this car as an example so you guys get the idea of what I'm talking about. So when I was looking at replacing the Audi A1, I was looking at nearly new BMW M3s or M4s in a very particular spec. White seats, everything inside, carbon, heads-up display, upgraded sound system, everything, because when you get a car that has got such a high specification, it's more desirable for the buyer, it's more desirable then for the resale value. So I was looking for a very particular spec. I wanted a black car so that it was very easy to wrap, and then obviously I wanted the white seats. So I was looking for BMW M3s, M4s, nearly new. But I was also looking at 2-year-old BMW M3, M4s to gain an understanding for the market and the depreciation of these cars. So I was looking at a 2015 car for myself, but I was looking at a 2014 car to know what the price of it was going to cost in a year's time. Then I could do my bargaining, I could do my negotiation skills on the 2015 car to get the price as low as possible and as close to the 2014 car. So you're kind of looking a year on, you're looking at the mileage. I picked this car up with 7,000 miles. I was looking at 2014 cars that had done around 20 to 25,000 miles. So I knew in my head how much this car was going to cost in a year's time with similar sort of mileage. When it comes to used cars, that is the tactic that I use. That is how I've been able to not lose that much money when it comes to buying pretty silly and ridiculous cars. But then, in comparison, looking at the Audi A1 versus all 4 of the other cars that I've owned, and you get the idea that actually it's better to buy a car that's a year old or nearly new because the first owner has done all the depreciation for you. Perfect example, Amg GTS. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. I hope you have found it quite interesting. Let me know in the comment box whether you want to see more of these type videos, whether that be car insurance, whether that be car finance, anything that you feel you want to know more on. Let me know in the comment box below. I thought it was a relatively interesting topic, talking about the Audi R8, how that was a business tool for me. And over the 3 to 4 years, I've owned some pretty ridiculous cars, and man, I miss every single one of them every single day. But at the same time, they've also been fantastic business tools that haven't lost me that much money, which is a good thing. So thumbs up. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you very soon this week. But actually, some really cool shit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm tuning this car, I pick up my Lamborghini Huracan, and there are some mega trips coming up. October is going to kickstart winter 2017 on Supercars in London. I've planned over 25 videos. It's more likely going to be a video every single day in October. So right now, I need to work out a way in which I can sweat this cold out, and I will see you this week. Cheers, guys. That thumb is incredibly close to the camera. Bye-bye.